Hello everyone, my name is Tamaris and welcome back to Plantastic Research video number 4. Today we're going to be talking about the life cycle of a plant. We're going to be discussing how it works, the different parts, and how everything comes together to grow the beautiful plants that we have around us. Last week we talked about the water cycle. We talked about different scientific names of plants and animals. And that reason that correlates to today's topic is because we're going to talk about how exactly do plants grow. What are the different fundamentals of how they grow and become or bloom. So in our previous video from 2 weeks ago, we talked about the water cycle. And we're going to hear a little bit more about the water cycle as well here. So I hope everybody's had a wonderful evening and a wonderful week. And let's get started. So I briefly want to touch on what is a plant and what are they. So a plant is a multicellular organism, a part of the kingdom Plantae, which is its scientific name, that grows out of the ground and produces its own food. And we all know that this production of food is called photosynthesis. And we all know that photosynthesis is the cause of plants producing glucose, which is their food, through using the sun's energy, which is sunlight. And here at the bottom I have some examples of some plants that you could find in nature. And I want you to pay attention to the one in the middle, because the one in the middle is actually a house plant, or a plant that you can grow in your home. Now, not everyone does, but I'm sure a lot of people have plants in their houses or in a home garden. And if you do, I think it's kind of nice to understand how they actually grow. Now I know it could be assumed that they putting the water and the sunlight through the window, but what is actually happening while that plant is growing? So today you're going to learn about what's happening exactly inside the soil from when the plant is planted in the soil, from the seedling to the beautiful blooming that you see now. We're going to talk about the first stage of the plant's life cycle. The first stage is seeds. Seeds start off as the first stage of the plant's life cycle. These are the little tiny things that you put into the ground that cause the plant to grow. The seeds of a plant contain all the necessary needs for the plants to begin growing. And most seeds can be hand-planted, blown by the wind, carried by water, or dropped by birds and animals who eat them, causing the plants to grow in that area. For example, if your mom or dad or you go to the store and buy a pack of seeds, let's say for an apple tree that you're growing in your backyard, you'll take the seeds and you'll put them in the ground, and wherever you put the seeds, that's where that tree will begin to grow, along when you add the necessary other needs as well. Or if you're specifically growing a garden, you'll take all that specific group of seeds and line them in a row, plant them in a row, and they will grow in that certain order, which is how people usually organize their garden. So whenever you see the signs that say maybe tomatoes or lettuce here or cabbage here, this is how people usually plant their seeds. And this is why seeds are often very small and can grow into bigger plants. But usually the smaller the seed, the smaller the plant is going to end up being. So you wouldn't find a big seed like let's say a peach seed. They'll probably grow a peach tree instead of a smaller seed. Let's say maybe a grain or something, probably a small grain, but probably grow something like a plant or something very small, not as big as a tree would be, of course. We're now going to talk about the next process of the plant life cycle, and that is germination. All seeds require 4 things to be able to grow. These things are oxygen, moisture, sunlight, and the right temperature. When all these requirements for the seed have been tended to, or tend to the seed will begin to sprout, or bloom. As you can see in the picture below, the seeds are sprouting, or the seed is beginning to sprout, and those are the roots that have pushed through the seed shell, which is the outer layer of the seed, and have begun to grow through it. This process is called germination. And basically what happens when this occurs is when the roots inside of the seed push through, like I just said, and they push through the shell of the seed, therefore making their way through. And these will begin will sprout into the roots that you will see usually under the dirt. Let's say if you pull the plant up, you will always see the roots. So those are the first things that grow out of the plant. The next stage of the plant life cycle is the seedling stage. This is the very important stage for the plant's life cycle because it determines, well, not determines, but it is the first official stage of the plant's growing era. This is the stage in which plants is the smallest and most fragile, just after germination has occurred. Seedlings tend to grow towards the direction of sunlight, so the more sunlight, the faster it will grow. All the nutrients needed for the seedlings to continue to grow is provided inside the soil, and the roots carry them through. So what that generally means is if you water a plant, the water will soak into the soil, and the roots will then soak up the soil and bring them into the plant. This is helping the plant also create food, and we know that's from photosynthesis. But there's something else I want to talk about. The green around the leaves here is also something that helps the plant create food. And the green that you see is called chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is always used to help plants create food. So the sunlight they get, the water they get, and the nutrients all help come together to help the plant grow. So that's why when I say the more sunlight, that's the more energy that the plant is getting to create more food. And just like any living organism, the more food or nutrients that it intakes, the more that it grows. And I have another example that I want to give. Usually, the more nutrients a plant gets can sometimes determine how fast the plant grows, how big the plant grows, or how long the plant grows. So something like a tree would take a lot longer to grow because it's bigger, it gets a lot more, so it'll grow taller, but it may take a lot longer to grow. Now, something smaller like a flower, it may not take as much energy, but it'll grow a lot faster. That's because it's tend to be smaller. Now the plant has reached its full-grown maturity, and this is due to photosynthesis that helps the seedling grow into full mature plants. Adult plant stage is one of the final plant stages of the plant. The mature plant produces flowers, which are the key point of the contribution of the continuation of the plant life cycle. A fully mature plant consists of plants, leaves, and roots, and could also have blooming. And blooming are these little things right here that will one day grow into this beautiful flower right here. Also, during certain changes of seasons, some blooming occurs faster than others, or in some seasons you will see many trees having almost blooming, or some that have already bloomed and are beginning to have them form everywhere. You will know that the plant is about to reach full maturity when the blooming has begun to start. So, I will use this example once again. If this plant begins to start blooming, it'll expand and expand and expand until it has reached its full coloring. Now, even though this blooming has occurred, this does not mean that the cycle is all the way complete yet. Yes, we do have a fully mature plant, but there's one more thing that has to happen in order for the full continuation of the plant's life cycle to complete. The final process of the plant life cycle is the pollination process. This is also known as the reproduction process. This is the process of getting pollen from the stamen of the plant, which are these things right here, and also these, then the bright orange, to the stigma of the plant, which is this long green thing right here. Something that's fun to know is that the bright colors on the leaves of the plant, and sometimes the blooming, are the things that attract and help attract pollinators. And pollinators are things such as bees or butterflies that help carry pollen from one plant to another. Also, if you ever picked up a flower and tried to smell it, well, that smell actually comes from the blooms or the leaves of the plant. These are caused by the leaves creating oils. These also help attract the pollinators as well. Now, in my next video, I will discuss how the reproduction of the plant is done. This is more of how the plant grows, and this is why the plant life cycle is important to know. But in my next video, I think we're going to get more into how the plants themselves are grown and how they work inside their reproduction, like the ovary, get more into the stigma and the stamen, and then you'll know a little bit more on how bees and other butterflies or other pollinators contribute and use them as well for their own sake. So if you ever heard that pollen is also used to create honey, well, that is true, and I'll get more into that. Well, everyone, I'm glad that were able to spend time sharing your experience with me, and I'm glad that I was able to give you information or more insight on how the plant life cycle works. And I hope everyone has a wonderful day. And thank you for tuning in with Plantastic, and I'll see you guys next week. Thank you. Bye.